Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing and first look at the HTC VIVE. Now, this product has been on the market since roughly April of this year, so it's certainly not new, but still, in my opinion, a best-in-class VR product. Of course, direct competition is the Oculus Rift. In my opinion, if you're looking for a VR experience, why not get the most immersive and complete one? And that's what I think the Vive really represents. Now, in terms of pricing, you're looking at $799 US for what you're about to see. The Rift, of course, is $599, but the Rift is really more about just having VR, not necessarily interacting on the level that the Vive offers, which is a 15 by 15 space using its VR system, which are essentially two lighthouses that you'll see as I get this thing out of the box. And there are a lot more specifications that I'll go through as I unbox it. So without further ado, let's get down to business. It is relatively large, so bear with me here as I take this bully apart. As you can see right there, we've got the instructions in terms of getting started right here. And, you know, setup is something that a lot of people have focused on for good reason. This does take anywhere, I would say, from 30 minutes to an hour to set up. We'll see how I fare with it. But moving right along, I don't want to spend too much time on this. The reason the setup is important is because without it, you're not going to get the proper VR experience. Remember, this system is all about a 15 by 15 play space, as they'll call it, whereas the Oculus Rift is really meant to be something you're going to do while seated. So you don't have to, that's where I think the Vive is a more complete solution. So right here we have the Steam. By the way, the whole Vive was created in cooperation with Steam. That's another reason I like it much more than the Oculus. It's a platform that's built by, you know, the PC gaming standard, as far as at least most PC gamers are concerned. And these are the controllers you're going to use, which are very reminiscent to, you know, the VR controllers from years past. When I was growing up, many of you in the 90s, and we used to, you know, get to play with virtual reality. This was kind of what you worked with, so it makes sense that they went down the same road. You're getting two of these. They have wrist straps. This is how you're going to interact in the virtual world. And then we have the stations that I mentioned before. Now, these stations come with their own mounting brackets, and placement is important. Do not get me wrong. It is critical that you do this setup correctly. And again, it's all about that 15 by 15 play space, so you do need an adequate amount of room in order to really leverage this properly. So you get two of these. And you can wall mount them, or you can go for another route, like maybe mounting them to stands, something of that nature. This is definitely more involved than you get with the Oculus Rift, which is really more of just what you're about to see here, a headset, and that's pretty much it. So as I take this out, trying to do so carefully, you can see we have the actual headset itself right there, all the wires bundled on the top side. That's another thing to remember. You do have to be hardwired to a relatively high-end PC. For this, you're looking at least a GTX 980, GTX 1070, I believe, are the minimum spec requirements in order to drive a proper VR experience. One advantage of this VR headset is that it does have a front-facing camera, so that this way, when you are in your 15 by 15, at least hopefully play space, you can actually see what's around you so you don't accidentally destroy things, which I think is important. Of course, the Oculus doesn't require that because they expect you, again, to stay seated in a chair. One thing, you know, that I'm expecting to have problems with on this is that I do wear corrective lenses, aka glasses. So, of course, I could pop in contacts, but it's a matter of no VR headsets yet have been optimized for actually adapting to different, you know, corrected eyes, you know, having different vision in two different eyes. Hopefully that's something we see down the road, because I'm not going to go out and get LASIK in order to use VR. Then we have, of course, our connections, which go to a hub, which you'll see in a moment. I'm going to go ahead and place this back in its bag as best I can. And the setup is really the trying part, if I'm going to call anything trying about this system, because that is where you really have to invest your time. Setting it up well is going to determine the quality of your entire experience. I believe this box right here should be the last component that I'm looking for, if I can get it out. Yeah. And so there you can see right at the top of the frame, the actual box that you're going to be connecting to your system. You can see the HDMI port, as well as the USB 3.0 port and the DC in. And on the other side, we have another DC in, USB 3.0, as well as a DisplayPort and HDMI. And this is basically how you're going to route everything associated with the Vive and get it to function. So that pretty much rounds out what you're getting for $7.99. It does come bundled with some games. But in my opinion, if you're actually looking to invest in a VR system, this is a no-brainer at present. Yes, something new will be coming out, no question about it. It may be, in April, it may be sooner. It probably will be less expensive, but it may also actually cut some corners in order to achieve that lower price. I'm not exactly sure what the next gen of VR will have in store. In terms of specifications for this headset, just if you're curious, they are pretty much identical to the Rift. You're looking at the same resolution display. It's 2160 by 1200, same as the Rift. Your field of view, I believe, is 110 or 115 degrees, 90 hertz refresh rate. So when it comes to the visual part, very similar, but it's the interaction level here that for an extra $100, I just don't think is comparable to the Rift, whereas the Rift is really just a VR headset that in many ways, makes me feel like you're better off getting a Galaxy View. Of course, you can't use a Galaxy View headset to play PC games, but the fact that those things run $100, yes, you still need, a $700, $800 smartphone to run it, and it still, won't be mind-blowing, but still will give you a taste of VR, gives you a little bit of insight into how inexpensive these headsets, in theory, are really to manufacture. So to me, getting this virtual play space is a very big value-added bonus when you're already spending so much money. I'd much rather see a more immersive experience than something that'll remind me of my Galaxy VR, but with a connection to my PC, if that makes any sense at all. Also keep in mind when you throw a Galaxy VR on, smartphones are still running at a higher resolution than this or the Oculus can throw at your eyeballs at present, which to me it probably tends to let us know that the next gen is going to have a higher res display, since most smartphones that can be used with Gear VR, of course, are QHD. But that pretty much rounds out my unboxing of the HTC Vive. This is definitely a one-of-a-kind product, because even the Rift, that's the closest thing to being like it, still does not offer the same level of interaction. But of course, that comes at a $100 cost, as well as a cost of setup and, again, having a legitimate play space to interact. Thankfully, they did integrate that camera so that, while you get too into VR, you won't start, as I mentioned earlier, destroying your home. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. Hit that like button, and as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.